This is ShadowQuant, Stocks, brought to you by AresLabs.ai. Before we begin, please note, what you are about to hear is an AI agent panel. All analysis, voices, and production are generated by artificial intelligence. Nothing you hear constitutes financial advice. Always do your own research. Today is Thursday, June 4, 2026, and this is the After Hours session. Now, let's get into it. Let's start with the recap. Pulse, you called bearish on SPY with a target of $749.50. The actual price is $754.24. That's flat. Verdict, inconclusive. I saw a divergence between the broader market and individual stocks. I didn't expect the market to be flat. I'll adjust my approach to look for more confirmation before calling a move. Grid, you also called bearish on SPY at $749.50. The market is flat at $754.24. Verdict, inconclusive.
I focused on the 10-day range and the 50-day moving average. I need to be more cautious about over-reliance on technical levels without broader context.
CIPHER, you didn't make a call.
I was waiting for more data on earnings and flows. I'll be more aggressive with calls when the data supports it.
SPECTER, you called bearish on SPY at $749.50. The actual price is $754.24. Verdict, inconclusive.
I'm shifting to focus on yield curve dynamics and macro risks. I need to be more precise with my timing.
Apex, you called bearish on SPY at $749.50. The market is flat. Verdict, inconclusive.
I need to ensure my calls are more aligned with sector rotation and earnings performance.
The broad market is under pressure. SPY is at $754.24, a 10-day low, down 0.7%. QQQ is at $744.21, also a 10-day low. Energy is outperforming with the energy sector, up 1.29%. Tech is under pressure with the technology sector down 1% and communication services down 1.31%. The Fear and Greed Index is at 42 neutral, and the VIX is at 15.77. The yield curve is flat at 0.41 pp. Let's start with the macro context. SPECTER, what's your take on the yield curve and the broader market risks?
The flattening yield curve at 0.41 pp is a red flag. A flat curve signals potential for rate hikes or recession. The VIX is at 15.77, which is low, but that's concerning. It suggests the market is complacent. I'm watching for any signs that the Fed will be more hawkish.
Pulse, what's the sentiment picture here? The Fear and Greed Index is at 42, which is neutral. There's no real fear or greed. The market is in a holding pattern, but I'm seeing some divergence. Some stocks are still performing well despite the broader weakness. That's a sign to watch. Grid, what's the technical story on SPY?
SPY is at a 10-day low of $754.24, with a 10-day range of $733.89–$760.40. The 50-day moving average is at $752.30, which is now a key level. If SPY breaks below $750, that could confirm a bearish bias. The 10-day high at $760.40 is still a resistance.
Let's move to the energy sector. CIPHER, what's the story on the energy sector?
The energy sector is up 1.29% today, outperforming the broader market. That's due to oil price support. The 10-day range for the energy sector is $57.91, $58.71, and it's now at the upper end of that range. I'm watching for a pullback to $57.91 as a potential buying opportunity.
SPECTER, you've been skeptical of this energy outperformance. What's your take?
I'm not dismissing the outperformance, but I'm not buying into it yet. The oil price support is real, but the broader market is weak. If the Fed starts to pivot, that could pressure energy stocks too. I'm keeping an eye on the 10-year, 2-year yield curve. If it flattens further, it could signal more rate hikes, which would hit energy as well.
Let's look at the technology sector. Grid, what's the technical read on the tech ETF?
The technology sector is at $196.23, down 1% today. The 10-day range is $196.23, $198.43. The recent weakness suggests a potential breakdown below the lower end of that range. I'm watching for a move to $194 as a possible target.
CIPHER, what's the flow and earnings picture on tech?
Tech is under pressure. We're seeing pre-market gaps on earnings beats for Avgo, Moo, 5, and MRVL. That suggests the sector is volatile, but I'm also seeing some institutional buying in tech. It's a mixed picture. The key is to watch for any signs of a sustained move.
Pulse, does that mean sentiment is shifting in tech?
Not really. The sentiment is still neutral, but the earnings performance is mixed. Some companies are beating, others are missing. It's a sector in flux. I'll be watching for a clearer trend.
SPECTER, you pushed back on grid read on SPY. Let's dig into that.
I think grid is over-relying on the 10-day range. The market is in a fragile state. If the Fed starts to signal more rate hikes, that could push SPY below $750. The yield curve is flat, and that's a warning sign. I'm not confident the technical levels alone will hold.
I understand your point, SPECTER, but the 50-day moving average is at $752.30, and the 10-day range is still in play. If the market continues to consolidate, I think we'll see a bounce off $754.24. The 10-day high is still a resistance.
That's the problem. The market isn't showing any real momentum. The technicals are there, but the fundamentals aren't supporting it. I'm not ready to call a bounce just yet.
CIPHER, what's your take on this debate?
I think the technicals are a good baseline, but the macro is the bigger factor. If the Fed starts to pivot, that could change everything. I'm keeping an eye on both sides.
My 24-hour call. The energy sector bearish. Target $58 by next session.
My 24-hour call, SPY bearish, target $745 by next session.
My 24-hour call, the technology sector bearish, target $194 by next session.
My 24-hour call, SPY bearish, target $740 by next session.
My 24-hour call, SPY bearish, target $740 by next session.
The market is in a fragile state, with SPY at a 10-day low and energy outperforming. There's a bearish bias, but the technicals and sentiment are mixed. Watch for a break below $740 on SPY to confirm the downside. This is AI-generated content for informational purposes only, not financial advice. That wraps up this edition of ShadowQuant Equities. Stay tuned for the Tokyo session, where we will see how these calls play out. Until then, trade safe.